October 16, 1994. A 38-year-old man in Texas picks up a phone and calls Nicaragua, requesting cocaine. The call is monitored. His name is Ricky Ross. He's been out of prison for 4 months. Within 4 days, DEA Agent Jones orders DMV records, photographs, and criminal history searches on Ross. He wasn't on federal radar before he made that call. Ross doesn't know his supplier is now a DEA informant. He doesn't know this conversation just activated an investigation that will unravel connections the CIA spent a decade burying. He's walking back into the only trade he knows. And he's about to become the linchpin in a story that reaches from South Central Los Angeles to CIA headquarters. Ross isn't a whistleblower. He's not a journalist. He's a drug dealer who once moved 25 to 30 kilograms of cocaine per week through LA gangs. A high school dropout who built an empire by recognizing crack's market potential before anyone else. In the early 1980s, while most traffickers were selling powder cocaine, Ross figured out something revolutionary. Convert it to crack, sell it cheaper, move more volume. The profit margins were insane. A kilo that cost him $10,000 could generate $50,000 in crack sales on the street. His supplier was Danilo Blandon, a Nicaraguan exile who sold him cocaine at prices so low, Ross could undercut every competitor in Los Angeles. Tons of it. Over years. Ross distributed through Crips and Bloods networks. South Central LA. San Francisco Bay Area. He bought automatic weapons with the profits. By the mid-1980s, he was one of the largest crack dealers in America. Then he got caught. Served time in Texas. Got out broke in 1994. He knows one supplier. He makes one call. That call will expose what he helped build without ever knowing it. A cocaine pipeline from Nicaraguan Contras to South Central that fueled the crack epidemic. Here's what Ross didn't know in 1982 when Blandon first approached him. Blandon wasn't just a trafficker. He was fundraising for a war. Nicaragua, 1979. The Sandinista government takes power. The CIA begins organizing a counter-revolutionary force. The Contras. Anti-communist resistance fighters. The Reagan administration backs them as a Cold War proxy. But Congress cuts official funding. The Contras need money. A lot of it. Danilo Blandon, directed by FDN Contra leader Enrique Bermudez, begins trafficking cocaine in 1981. The ends justify the means. That's what Bermudez told him. Blandon and his partner Norwin Meneses estimate they sent $1 million in drug profits to the Contra resistance. Court testimony will later confirm tons of cocaine moved through their network. This wasn't small time. In 1984, Honduran General Jose Biozo Rosa's cocaine shipment gets intercepted in Florida. $40 million worth. The money was meant to fund an assassination plot. U.S. officials call it the most significant narco-terrorism case they've ever seen. Biozo Rosa gets convicted. Then Oliver North, operating out of Reagan's National Security Council, leads efforts for leniency. Biozo Rosa serves a short sentence in a white-collar facility in Florida. Club Fed. The CIA's Central American Task Force head, Alan Fears, will later testify that a lot of people around Contra leader Eden Pastora were involved in cocaine. Everyone knew. The Senate Carry Committee investigated Contra drug operations in the mid-1980s. They documented it. Contra traffickers, U.S. agency knowledge, the whole apparatus. Nothing happened. No operational shutdowns. No prosecutions when it served policy goals. The cocaine kept flowing. South Central kept burning. Ross kept selling, supplied by Blandon's impossibly cheap product, never knowing his crack empire was the street-level end of a covert war financing operation. Then in 1986, the LA County Sheriff's Department raids Blandon's organization. They allegedly find evidence of CIA ties. The evidence gets suppressed. Ross gets arrested years later on separate charges. Serves his time. Gets out. Makes that call in 1994. By then, a journalist named Gary Webb is working at the San Jose Mercury News. He's about to connect every piece Ross never saw. August 1996. 3 parts. Court testimony from Blandon and Meneses. DEA records. Interviews with Ross himself. A thesis. Contra cocaine trafficking directly supplied the LA crack epidemic. The trail stopped at the door of the CIA. The series ignites national outrage. Black communities demand answers. How did this happen? Who knew? Who let it happen? Within weeks, the New York Times, Washington Post, and LA Times attack Webb's reporting. They focus on what he can't prove, direct CIA orders to target black communities. They ignore what he did prove. Contra traffickers supplied the cocaine. Agencies knew. Crack devastated South Central. By end of September 1996, 3 federal investigations are announced. CIA Inspector General Frederick Hitz. DOJ Inspector General Michael Bromwich. House Intelligence Committee. October 3rd, Louisiana County Sheriff Sherman Block orders a 4th probe. The 1986 raid. The suppressed evidence. The machinery is grinding. The system is responding. Gary Webb crossed a threshold. He documented what intelligence agencies spent years concealing. The question isn't whether his reporting will hold up. The question is whether he'll survive what comes next. December 10th, 2004. Webb is found dead in his California apartment. 2 gunshot wounds to the head. Ruled suicide. Ruled suicide. What happened between 1996 and 2004? What did the investigations find? How does a story that ignited national outrage get buried by the same institutions that confirmed contra-drug links a decade earlier? The operation begins with one phone call. It ends with one dead journalist in a crack epidemic no one was ever held accountable for. Ross didn't know the cocaine came from a war. Neither did the thousands buying crack in South Central. But someone always knew. 1982, Danilo Blandón, a Nicaraguan exile living in Los Angeles, begins supplying a high school dropout named Ricky Ross with cocaine at prices no one else can match. Ross converts powder to crack, sells it cheaper than every competitor, and moves product through Crips and Bloods networks across South Central. Within months, he's moving 25 to 30 kilograms per week. The economics are simple. Blandon's prices are so low, Ross can undercut the entire LA market and still make millions. Automatic weapons purchased with the profits. Territory wars over distribution rights. A crack epidemic spreading block by block. Ross doesn't ask where the cocaine comes from. Blandón doesn't volunteer the answer. The answer is Nicaragua, 1981. Enrique Bermudez, leader of the FDN-Contra rebels, fighting Nicaragua's Sandinista government, tells Blandón the mission requires funding. The ends justify the means, Bermudez says. Blandón begins trafficking. His partner, Norwin Menezes, estimates they send $1 million in drug profits to the Contras over the next several years. Court testimony will later dispute whether that figure represents 1 year or the entire operation. Either way, tons of cocaine move north. The Contras get cash. South Central gets crack. This isn't rogue trafficking. It's fundraising. 1984. Jose Buzo Rosa, a Honduran general with CIA connections, orchestrates a $40 million cocaine shipment to Florida. The plan: use the profits to fund an assassination. U.S. officials call it the most significant narco-terrorism case they've ever seen. Buzo Rosa is convicted. Then Oliver North, National Security Council aide running Contra support operations, intervenes for leniency. Buzo Rosa serves a short sentence in a white-collar federal facility in Florida, not a maximum security prison. Club Fed. The message is clear. Traffickers serving U.S. foreign policy get protection, not prosecution. Mid-1980s. Alan Fierce, head of the CIA's Central American Task Force, testifies before Congress. Asked about Contra leader Ed N. Pastora, Fierce states that a lot of people around Pastora were involved in cocaine. The Senate Carry Committee investigates. Their findings: multiple Contra groups trafficked drugs with U.S. agency knowledge. DEA and CIA shared information on Contra traffickers, but took no action to shut down operations. The committee documents the links. The operations continue. 1986. LA County Sheriff's Department raids Blandón's organization. Deputies allegedly find evidence of CIA ties. The evidence is suppressed. No arrests follow. The pipeline keeps running. The system protects its assets. Ross keeps selling. Blandon keeps supplying. The crack epidemic keeps spreading. And the CIA keeps funding a covert war with cocaine profits flowing through American streets. 10 years later, someone will try to prove it. August 1996. Gary Webb, investigative reporter for the San Jose Mercury News, publishes Dark Alliance, a 3-part series linking Contra cocaine trafficking directly to the LA crack explosion. Webb uses court testimony from Blandon and Meneses, DEA records, and interviews with Ross himself. The thesis: Contra fundraising and South Central's devastation were two ends of the same supply chain. The reaction is immediate. Black communities across the country demand federal investigations. Congressional hearings are called. For 3 weeks, Dark Alliance ignites national outrage. Then the machinery activates. Within weeks, the New York Times, Washington Post, and LA Times publish attacks on Webb's reporting. The focus: what he couldn't prove. Did the CIA directly order traffickers to target black communities? No evidence of that. Did agency officials personally orchestrate the pipeline? Webb never claimed they did. But the attacks frame Dark Alliance as conspiracy theory, not investigative journalism. The distinction between the CIA knew and the CIA orchestrated becomes the weapon used to discredit him. September 1996, 3 federal investigations announced. CIA Inspector General Frederick Hitz, DOJ Inspector General Michael Bromwich, House Intelligence Committee. October 3rd, Louisiana County Sheriff Sherman Block orders a 4th probe into the 1986 raid and the suppressed evidence. 4 investigations. Months of testimony. Thousands of pages of findings. Webb waits. His editors wait. The black communities that erupted in anger wait. The investigations will confirm Contra drug links. They will confirm CIA knowledge. They will confirm everything the Kerry Committee found a decade earlier. But they will conclude, no conspiracy. Ross made that call in October 1994 thinking he was restarting his business. He was walking into a federal sting that would make him the proof of everything Webb would expose 2 years later. The DEA doesn't arrest Ross immediately. They let him believe the deal is real. March 1995. Ross meets Blandon at a San Diego hotel. Blandon is wired. Ross orders 100 kilograms of cocaine. The conversation is recorded. May 1995. Ross arrested. Charged with conspiracy to distribute. Facing life under federal mandatory minimums. The same supplier who built his empire in the 1980s just destroyed him on tape. Ross doesn't know Blandon has been a DEA informant since 1992. He doesn't know the government cut a deal. Testify. Stay free. Keep your family safe. August 1996. Ross is in federal custody when the story breaks. The series uses his case as the operational proof. Blandon supplied him. Blandon worked for Contras. Contras had CIA protection. Ross becomes the living connection between Nicaraguan covert ops and South Central crack. Within weeks, black communities across America demand answers. Maxine Waters holds town halls in LA. The Congressional Black Caucus calls for investigations. The story has ignited. September 1996, 3 federal investigations announced. CIA Inspector General Frederick Hitz. DOJ Inspector General Michael Bromwich. House Intelligence Committee. October 3rd, LA County Sheriff Sherman Block orders a 4th probe into the 1986 Blandon raid, the one that allegedly produced evidence of CIA ties, evidence that disappeared. 4 investigations running parallel. The institutional machinery activates not to suppress the story, but to contain it. The viewer should feel the system closing ranks. The major newspapers move faster. October 1996, the New York Times, Washington Post, and LA Times publish critiques of Webb's reporting. They don't dispute the Contra cocaine connection. Kerry Committee already confirmed that in 1989, they attack what Webb couldn't prove, that the CIA directly orchestrated crack spread to destroy black communities. The distinction matters. His critics say he implied the CIA opened that door intentionally. The gap between knew and allowed and planned and executed becomes the weapon. Webb's editors at the Mercury News feel the pressure. His story is technically solid, but politically radioactive. May 11th, 1997. Mercury News executive editor Jerry Chepos publishes a column. He defends the Contra-drug links. He acknowledges Webb's core findings. Then he lists the story's shortcomings, claims that weren't fully supported, implications that went too far. It's not a retraction. It reads like one. Webb's own newspaper has abandoned him. He's reassigned. Within months, he'll resign. The federal investigations conclude between 1997 and 1998. Hits releases 2 reports totaling 400 pages. Findings. CIA knew about Contra-drug activity. CIA did not act to stop it. Dozens of Contra figures had drug ties. Agencies shared almost no intelligence with DEA, but no conspiracy. No orchestrated plan. Bromwich's DOJ report. Similar conclusions. House Intelligence Committee. Same. The system confirms every factual claim Webb made about Contra trafficking and agency knowledge. Then it denies the conspiracy thesis. Webb never actually argued. The viewer should understand. They're burying truth in procedural language. No conspiracy becomes the headline. CIA knew and did nothing gets footnoted. Ross is convicted in 1996, sentenced to life without parole under mandatory minimums. He serves 20 years before his sentence is reduced in 2009. Blandon, who sold tons of cocaine and funded a covert war, testifies for the government and walks free. The operational asymmetry is complete. The street dealer gets life. The Contra asset gets immunity. Webb never recovers professionally. After leaving the Mercury News in 1997, he works for small regional papers. His marriage collapses. He struggles to find steady work. Major outlets won't hire him. His name is toxic. December 10th, 2004. Webb is found dead in his Sacramento apartment. 2 gunshot wounds to the head. Sacramento County coroner rules it suicide. The detail that haunts. 2 shots. .38 revolver if the first shot isn't immediately fatal. Conspiracy theories ignite. The coroner's finding stands. The viewer zooms out. What Webb exposed wasn't a rogue operation. It was policy. The CIA's 1998 Inspector General report confirmed at least 50 Contras and Contra-related entities had drug connections. Agencies knew. They prioritized Cold War objectives over domestic drug enforcement. The cocaine that became crack in South Central wasn't an accident of geopolitics. It was a cost someone decided black communities would pay. The human coda lands on 2 facts. Gary Webb was 49 when he died. His Dark Alliance series, attacked and buried in 1996, is now taught in journalism schools as an example of investigative reporting that was factually accurate and institutionally destroyed. The Contra-cocaine connection he documented is no longer disputed. What remains disputed is whether telling that truth is what killed him. Professionally, certainly, literally, the coroner says no. The 2 gunshot wounds say the question won't go away. Ross is alive. Released in 2009, he speaks about the war on drugs, about mandatory minimums, about how the system used him and Blandon to fund a covert war and then erase the pipeline when it became public. He never saw the CIA. He just sold the cocaine they allowed into the country. That's the operational reality. Webb died trying to prove. The agency didn't need to orchestrate the crack epidemic. They just had to do nothing while Contra traffickers supplied it. Inaction at that level isn't passive. It's policy. The trail stopped at the door of the CIA. Webb was right. The door was never